Hello and welcome. Growing your own tomatoes is a great way to feed your family and shorten your grocery list. Whether you're growing them in flower beds or containers, from seeds or seedlings, it's pretty easy once you get the hang of it. Bear in mind that they do love sunshine, so be sure to choose a nice sunny area. Also, they love deep watering, but not very often. And I'm going to go over a couple of tips with you. And I'm going to be adding a little Epsom salt, which is a little secret ingredient. And guys, remember to like, share, and subscribe to see my past and future topics and hit the notification bell. So you'll need to have your garden soil, and I prefer the organic blends simply because it's something I'm going to be eating, so I prefer that. For flowers and so on, I'm not as fussy. Over here, you'll need to have your watering can if you're just doing a container, or if you're doing a small flower bed, and that's sufficient. If it's going to be for a large area, then you most likely will want to get a hose to make your job easier. You're going to be needing a tablespoon of Epsom salts, and one that doesn't have a lot of other things in it, just straight Epsom salts. And that actually provides magnesium, which is very good for tomatoes and peppers and so on. And we'll just be mixing in a tablespoon of that in the soil. If you're going to be using tomatoes seeds, then what you would do is you would take the pulp out, put it in a sieve, wash it out under the faucet, and just let it dry out maybe for about 24 hours. And then you would plant it in a small container, such as this one here, about an inch, well, not an inch, maybe about half of an inch to a quarter of an inch. You don't want it to be too deep because the seeds are so tiny. You take a look here and see how small they are. So you don't want them to have too far a distance to come up. And then, of course, you need to have your tomato seedlings, and you want to choose healthy, sturdy looking ones, so it will give you less of a hard time, and you'll get good crops from there. So always look for that. You will need to have your container, of course. This one is about a 3-gallon container. You can get bigger ones if you like, just depending on how, what species of the tomatoes you're doing and how big it's gonna get. And last but not least, we have over this side, we have the trowel, and that's the start. But you also need to have tomato cages or a trellis or stakes, and I'm going to show you just a couple that I have here so you can see what those look like. So here you see I have a tomato cage, and this one is quite large. You can get them in smaller size. This one is so large it's not even going to fit in the container that I have. So you do have other options. You can actually try using trellises instead, or even stakes. Very inexpensive option, and they're made of plastic, so they're quite flexible. And these are essential because what they do is they're going to help your tomato as it gets older, maybe to about a foot high or so. It's going to offer support for those, more weak vines that it has. So it has support when the heavy fruits start to come out, and the larger they get, the more you're going to need it. So I just wanted to show you that you do have the option to line the bottom with a thin layer of coffee filters right over the holes, and that's just to prevent excess soil from coming out from the bottom. But of course, that's just a matter of personal preference. So here we have our soil, and you notice the level that I filled it up to, and I'm just making a little hole in the middle here. And I did mix in some of my garden soil with it. You can if you want to, if you have that. Otherwise, you could just use it straight from the bag. So I'm making the hole here. And then we're going to get, well, let me take the tag out. And then we're going to ease our tomato plant out and just loosen the root ball just a little bit, just to encourage them to spread. And then we're going to fit it down so that it's level here, and just cover it back with the soil. And you want to press in, and then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to add a tablespoon of Epsom salts. Well, based on this size, I'd say maybe a little bit less than 1, about 3/4. And then I'm gonna add a little bit more soil to it. Make sure the leaves aren't getting down in there. So we're gonna press it in. And then I'm gonna water generously. Soil's a little bit moist, so because we had some rain, so it doesn't need as much, but you're gonna go ahead and water it. Make sure it has a good soak until you see water running out from the holes at the bottom, and then you will know that it has had enough. And once it has gotten to about a foot high, I would say, then you can put your stake in somewhere about here, and that's what's going to support the plant. And as it grows higher, you'll just basically get some yarn, you know, something soft and flexible, and tie it around it and just leave it there, and you'll get your fruits coming up. And remember too, you can also try to maybe plant companion flowers such as marigold. That helps to keep insects away, the ones that are harmful. But at the same time, it also brings pollinators in, the bees and so on that you want to help the plant to produce food. So I hope that this helps, and I do thank you so much for watching. Happy gardening!